All right, what's up? What's happening? What's good? What it do, baby? You are tuned in to another episode of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. It's your boy Xavier, aka X, aka Zay, joined by my co-host, my brother in crime, KB, Kory Blackshear. KB, what's good, bro?
Yo, what's going on?
And we're pleased to be joined once again by Matt Craig. He joined us 2 weeks ago. Matt, what's going on?
What's up, y'all? Glad to be back. Glad to be back. Excited to talk
Yes,
about sports today.
yes, sir. Glad to have you back on here. And we have to start off with the fact that the NBA is back, fellas. Cue the music. Roundball rock. NBC showed out on Tuesday night. We watched OKC in Houston. We saw the Warriors and the Lakers. We'll touch on both of those games in just a moment. But KB, let me start off with you. What were your early impressions on what NBC put out on display for their big return on Tuesday night?
Man, it had a classical look. It kind of reminds you of like what we grew what like our parents and them grew up watching. Like I honestly I'm excited for the change. It's different. It's something exciting. Like I said, we got Michael Jordan back as a analyst, so I'm pretty sure a lot of people gonna be tuned in for that. But I like it. It's different. It's not what we're used to seeing with TNT, but you know, you got to welcome change at some point. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, let's just be honest. The only reason people were crying about TNT is because we were not sure if we were going to end up losing inside the NBA. Once we found out that we were going to have them in some sort, we were good to go. It's not necessarily that we were going to miss the games being on TNT. We just wanted to make sure we were still going to have that show. And once we knew we would still have it in some capacity, all right, thanks for the memories, Turner. We appreciate you. On to the next. Matt, your thoughts?
I agree. It's just good to have NBA back as a whole, and it's gonna be pretty cool to see it on NBC. I mean, that was our generation of the time that it was on NBC, but it's just again a very nostalgic feeling, and I'm looking forward to the new changes that NBC may implement and what things will happen from here.
Yeah, and KB, you mentioned it before. I'll mention it myself too. Man, it just feels good to have Michael Jordan back. It feels like we have him back as a part of the game again. It felt like we had been missing him for so long. Even when he was the owner in Charlotte, he kind of was ducked off and hidden away. Mike retired officially in 2003, and we haven't really seen him out there on the scene since. But a few years ago, the NBA had their 75th celebration in Cleveland during the All Star weekend. I believe that was 2022, and Michael Jordan got the loudest ovation out of anybody there. We didn't even know if Mike was going to be able to make it, and he's just one of those people. You cannot tell the story of the NBA without Michael Jordan. So it feels good to have him back. It felt good to have the legends back, the nostalgic feel, the theme song playing, seeing Patrick Ewing and Magic Johnson a part of the big intro yesterday. But let's get to some of the gameplay, beginning with the Oklahoma City Thunder. They received their championship rings yesterday. Those things look nice, fellas. What you think?
Oh no, they look really nice. Looking forward to the season they will have. But the rings look nice. Congratulations to the OKC Thunder on being the current NBA champions. Hopefully they have a good reign. They got a lot of young guys they brought back. So we'll see what they do when they decide to defend their title. But it's a good chance. I know we'll get into the game, but just overall a good way to start the season off with getting your ring and winning at home to open the season up.
Yeah, KB, I was really surprised. I guess I didn't follow this story enough, but J Dub didn't play last night. And he was one of the guys that I thought that we would definitely see out there last night. But in his absence, Chet Holmgren stepped up and he played big.
Yeah, he was a late scratch. I like you said, I found out like right as the game was coming on, they announced him as a scratch in the lineup. But Chet Holmgren, he came out hungry. Like he came out like the Chet that we saw at the end of last year. We did see, Shea struggling early on in the game. And with Chet, still keeping the offense afloat, they were able to kind of weather that storm, even though that Houston was kind of struggling, trying to feel their way out with this new look team with adding Kevin Durant. So I think that, we see a lot of times a lot of teams struggle on ring ceremony night. This was kind of like one of those situations where I felt like OKC would be a little bit different because they've been starving for a championship for so long, and that they finally got it. It was the perfect night. It ended perfect just because of the way they won the game. So yeah, I think that, this is going to be a really wild season, to be completely honest.
Especially out there in that wild, wild west. That gauntlet is going to be ugly when it comes down to stretch. It's going to be some teams that deserve to make it that are not going to make it. But we got a Houston Rockets fan here in Matt. And one of the things that I'll say that we observed last night is the importance of Fred VanVleet and just having that natural point guard to really set the offense. Amen Thompson is very talented. He's one of the bright young stars of the league, but he's not a point guard. And Alperen Sengun is a playmaker, but he's not a point guard. And that's what I really think the Rockets missed at times last night when it really mattered down the stretch. They didn't have anybody who could really set them into their offense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, going into the season when Fred went down, I knew we didn't have a backup, quote unquote point guard. It kind of, not to go too deep, but it kind of goes into the whole positionless basketball thing that's been pushed for the last 10 years or whatever, as far as like players are not playing positions. They not playing traditional positions, they just playing basketball. And when it comes to certain things, I talked about this before. I'm very a traditionalist when it comes to certain things. And like if we're talking about NFL, I like my quarterbacks to be 6'4" at least, big arm. I like my wide receivers to be. I don't like the undersized wide receivers. I don't like the Antonio Browns, the Tyreek Hills. I'm not a fan. If I had to pick, I like the Jamar Chases. I like at least 6'2", 6'3" wide receivers. So and come to running backs, I don't like small running backs, 5'8", 5'7" running backs. I like my running backs to have some size on them. So the same thing kind of goes into when you're talking, for me, when I'm talking about NBA basketball. Um, I understand that a lot of players are listed as a point guard nowadays, but a lot of players don't play the point guard position the way that myself like it. A lot of the point guards we have nowadays are more so masqueraded shooting guards, that they got the ball in their hand most of the times and they play point guard on the depth chart, but they not really a point guard. And when I say not really a point guard, I mean someone that can control the offense, someone that can be the general on the floor, someone that can be the quarterback, someone that can be the coach on the floor without the coach being actually on the floor, someone that can understand when, like, hey, this guy haven't got a shot in a while, let me get him a bucket. Hey, let's slow the tempo down. Hey, let's get an easy shot here. Let's, you know what I'm saying? A Steve Nash, a Jason Kidd, a Chris Paul. Those are the point guards that I like. And nothing against the Russell Westbrook type of point guards. Nothing against the Damian Lillard type of point guard. Nothing against all those type of guys. Even SGA type of point guards. He put on the show. Nothing against those type of guys. But if you asking me, if I want somebody as a point guard, I want the traditional point guard, the John Stockton type. Even he's not a traditional point guard in size, but he was in style, Magic Johnson type. So I say all that to say that's what the Rockets were missing yesterday. I wasn't a fan of the big lineup to go into it. As X said, I am a Rockets fan. I wasn't a fan of the big lineup as a whole, because it's like, yes, we got length, we got size, but Jabari Smith is not a wing player. It's like they're trying to force him to be on the wing. They're trying to force him to be like the quote unquote Kevin Durant for us. That's not his style. The couple times he was bringing the ball to the court, SGA was stealing it from him. A few players were stealing it from him. And they're just like, bro, you're not a guard. You're not KD. Even KD got a good enough time that he can bring the ball to the court. But Jabari's like a freaking giraffe trying to bring the ball to the court sometimes to me. Not to be disrespectful to him. He's a good player, but that's just not his style. Get on the post, back somebody in, catch and shoot from the three. But to play like you on the wing is not your game. So when I saw that, I didn't like it from the get-go. For me, the perfect lineup would be to move Şengün to the center position, move Jabari to the 4 position, move KD to the 3, and then have a mean at the 2 and put Reed Sheppard in. But the problem with Reed is, as you seen last night, barbecue chicken alert. Every time somebody got the ball and they looked in front of them and saw Reed, their eyes got big. Cause they was like, I'm about to put this boy in the blender. And that's what happened every single time. So his defense sucks. So he's trying to figure his way out to how he can still be an effective player. But, and I said it before, and this is my last thing on it. Coming into the season, I knew that Reed had to step up to be a better player. But coming to season, I thought that Fred was going to be here. Obviously, Fred got hurt to his ACL, so he may be out for the rest of the season. So my thing was, Reed is going to have to step up eventually. Fred is going to provide that veteran leadership as a point guard to him to show him how to play this position. Because if you remember when Fred first came into the league, Fred didn't just jump into to be a starter. Fred came off the bench for the Toronto Raptors. Fred came off the bench for when they won the championship in the Toronto Raptors. Fred moved his way into that. He worked his way up and worked his way up and worked his way up as a second round pick to be the guy he is today, to make all the money he is today. And I wanted him to get that same knowledge to Reed. But now with Fred out, he can't be that veteran leader on the court. He could be off the court and talk to him, but it's one thing to do it, and it's one thing to just say it. And he needs somebody there to say it. So it's going to be a crash course for him this season. He just got to get out there and learn on the go, and hopefully he can pick up as he's going, because Fred not coming to save him. We don't have any cap space to sign a point guard, and we don't really have no pieces to trade to get a point guard. So this lineup that we got is who we got until at least late December, when we start being able to move players. But a lot of these players that we got, we recently signed over the offseason or signed extensions with, so we can't trade them until December, January. I think the date is like January 16th or something like that. So this is our team. Good thing is they did put up a fight against the defending champs without their second best player, I might add, but they did put up a fight. But we just gonna see what happens and see how this offense flows. I know I said a mouthful, but that's just my whole spiel on my Houston Rockets.
So, out of one thing that you said there so far, and KB, I want you to hit on this one first. You brought up the type of point guards that you like and the type of point guards that we grew up watching. How many natural point guards do we still really have left in the game?
Not much. It's not really. It's not a position that's. It's not a position that's really wanted nowadays. Like the point guards that we have now, the point guards, the ones that are like Chris Paul, are not glorified nowadays. The ones that are glorified are the ones that can score and get buckets and shoot threes and go get their own bucket. Like the ones that can come in and set the scene for players like Alonzo Ball, those point guards are not like the ones being pushed to the front because they want more offense, they want more scoring. So we don't really have, so point guards that are coming up, they don't even want to be like that type of point guard. They looking at the Damian Lillards. They looking at the Steph Currys. They looking at the Russell Westbrooks. Those are the guys they seen as they come up. So those are the guys they want to be like. So if we could pick just one guy that's most similar to it, but not all the way, it's probably Cade Cunningham.
KB, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the days of a traditional point, I think those are long gone. You have to almost be a hybrid point guard nowadays to kind of, even get the attention of most teams, especially if you're a free agent. I'm gonna throw another name out there that kind of he resembles more of a traditional point guard. Somebody could just say, I need you to just come in, run the offense. We don't need you to worry about scoring, play some good quality defense, do everything on the floor for us. He can score when needed, and I saw it last year in the finals. The guy always say if I needed someone to be a traditional point guard for me, TJ McConnell. I look at TJ McConnell as a guy who he doesn't have to have the ball in his hands, but if he does have the ball in his hand, you feel comfortable having him initiate the offense. He can get his own shot, but he doesn't need to get his own shot. He's not looking to score. He's looking to initiate the offense. Especially when you have guys on the floor that can score. He's not looking at a traditional scorer. Trying to, be the offensive engine for the team. Now, the only guy I was curious about why I did not see him play last night, especially with Fred VanVleet out, was, and I know this might be like one of those things that like some people might be like, yeah, but some people may not understand it. But I was kind of curious as to why we didn't see like Aaron Holiday, somebody that's just a point guard that can play some defense. He kind of fits what they were trying to do last night. As far as you have the length around the perimeter, but then you can slide guys more back into their natural position. Jabari Smith bringing up the ball, not really my thing. He's more of a spot-up shooter. Still can, get his own on the block a little bit if he wants to. If he has a favorable matchup, KD just needs space to work. Amin Thompson, he's still, trying to take that offensive leap. If he does take it, Houston is a scary team. I mean, we see in Sangoon last night, he, dominated. But I just think that Aaron Holiday last night would have helped them so much just because he would have gave them the opportunity to have an actual true point guard who's not trying to be the offensive engine, just somebody that can initiate the offense and get things going, and who also can play defense on a guy like Shea. He may not stop Shea, but he can make it difficult for Shea. I've seen Aaron Holiday be in a number of different teams, and he's played his role pretty much in every team he's been on. So I think that he would have served them a little bit more than them running a heavy, like all bigs lineup last night. I think that, especially when you have a team that has really perfected small ball, they can expose Houston in that kind of way. But if you have someone like Aaron Holiday, somebody that just, is a grit and grind player, I think that'll serve Houston best while Fred VanVleet comes back from injury.
Well, they're going to have to figure this out throughout the course of the season because they're probably not going to have Fred at all at any point in this season, even towards the postseason for that matter. But I'm glad you brought up Aaron Holiday because maybe that's a way that we'll see Ime Udoka tinker with this lineup going forward. I expect that at some point we'll see him sprinkle him in there somehow. But before we close this part of this thing out and we get to game 2 on the evening on Tuesday, I just got to say that it was very fitting for, and I'm pretty sure I stand on an island alone on this, the best player in the world to close out that game last night. It was very fitting for Shea to be the one who closed out the game.
Yeah. To go back to what you're saying, I'm gonna get to your best player in the world, but go ahead to what you're saying, KB, about TJ. If we can go back to the guy that went that starts over him, Tyrese. Tyrese is more of a traditional point guard in today's NBA. And then sometimes the crazy thing about it is sometimes he gets, I ain't gonna say bad, but he gets talked about for that because his impact on the team may not show up on the box score because he may have like 9 points and like 9 assists or 10 assists and 8 rebounds, but he's directing the offense, and that's why sometimes people like Stephen A. and people on talking heads they looking for the big numbers, the big gaudy numbers like a Luka or a SGA or something like that. So when a player like that has a game where they win and he has 9 points, it's like it's no way he can be a superstar because he's not scoring points like that. But you can still be a superstar in that traditional role, but people don't see it as that because they looking at what you put on the box score, and if that don't line up to what you do as a player, they look at you. Well, you can't be a superstar. Now that was up into the playoff run. Now that Tyrese ran that playoff run and hit all those game winners, more people go look at him like a superstar. But it took that playoff run for people to see him as such. But he was playing good ball all season long before that. But it's like people didn't see him like that because his numbers are not like eye-popping numbers. But if you had to look at like the modern day point guard, that's a traditional point guard, if anybody would be the face of that right now, it would probably be Tyrese. Then I talk about the best player again. Like I don't see how SGA can be the best player over Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I generally don't see the case for it, and that's just being honest. Like they have more accolades, more wins, more everything than him, and he just won the championship and got an MVP. Not saying that's like a push off, but they both done that, and they both doubled up the MVPs, and they both. I mean, and Giannis won Defensive Players of the Year, so it's like I don't see the case for SGA to be a best player than those two guys. Now he can pass Luka up. I mean, a year ago, at the start of the season, last season, nobody would say SGA was better than Luka. Nobody was saying that. It might be a few people here and there might be saying that, but nobody would come out their mouth and say SGA was better than Luka. Now at the start of the 2025-2026 season, people are comfortable with saying, well, SGA is better than Luka. And throughout the whole season, people was not willing to say SGA was better than Luka. So that's one person I feel like he passed up when winning this championship and winning that MVP is Luka. And some people may still take Luka, but it's not as defined like it was before. But as far as passing up Jokic and Giannis, he's not in their ballpark, in my opinion. I feel like Jokic and Giannis are two like potential top 10 all-time players. And I don't think SGA is in that range.
Hey, X, I don't want to cut you off. I just wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask Matt a question. So, do you think SGA received the MVP last year because of voter fatigue for Jokic? You think that they just kind of got tired of it? Well, they kind of just got used to just seeing him year in, year out do something that really
Yeah.
we haven't seen done.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that played a role in it because Jokic had better numbers last year than he had the year he won MVP, and SGA got it over him. So I definitely think that played a role in it. I definitely think SGA was deserving in it, though. I don't want to make it think like SGA shouldn't have got it, but I definitely think voter fatigue played a role in that.
Listen, you can feel the way that you want to feel about it. You make a very compelling argument, but somebody who is the reigning scoring champion, the reigning league MVP, the reigning NBA champion, reigning NBA Finals MVP, who also plays on the other end of the basketball too, I might add. Yes, he is the best player in the world right now to me, but we could go on that argument all day. We got to get to the second game really quickly here. The Warriors and the Lakers. And, I'm really trying not to overreact to what I saw last night, fellas, but even when and if LeBron comes back, whether that's going to be mid-November at any point, even if and when that happens, this team does not have enough. This team is not good enough. They're not good enough on the defensive side of the ball. They don't have enough playmakers. Like I said, I'm trying not to overreact to what I saw because I'm a Lakers fan, but Matt, you already know because I said it in our group chat last night. For the right deal, y'all need to come up off of Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. For the right deal, not just for just anything, but for the right deal, you need to do because they're not consistent enough. Even at times, I know that Austin Reed can have his spurts that he can go on where he can be streaky, but they're not consistent enough at all. Rui Hachimura only took 6 shots last night. And I'm not saying that Luka was a ball hog last night either. Luka was the only reason the Lakers were even in that game against Golden State. But before we even touch even more on the Lakers, I want to give some love to the Golden State Warriors because they showed up and they played last night. Jimmy Butler was great for them last night. Jonathan Kuminga in the third quarter, he was the key to making sure that they were going to secure that victory last night. And Steph did what Steph does when it matters last night. He hit the key shots down the stretch that helped put the Lakers to bed.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this, and I want to see if y'all ever seen this. Like, I know X, we call have y'all know if you know this, but we call X the historian in our group chat because all the history he knows of the NBA. Like, I know history of the NBA, but the most history I'll quote is stuff that I watch with my own eyes. And I say all the time that my start of NBA history started in 2006, right before Kevin Durant got drafted, and everything since. But I know the past history. I just don't quote it as much because I like going based on what I've seen myself. In NBA history, have we ever seen a player be a top overall pick, let's say top 5 pick, get drafted by a team, have opportunities to be that guy for that team, not work out, leave the team that drafted him, and went on to have a successful NBA career? I know that's like a random question, but I can't think of anybody that ever happened to. And I say that because in the NFL, we can see that. We see a quarterback get drafted in the top 5, be number 1 over pick, and just flame out the team he's on, and then have a second career somewhere else and be successful. Sam Darnold, perfect example right now. Baker Mayfield, another example right now. We've seen that. But in NBA, we typically don't see that happen with players if they don't get like traded. Like if they play good where they were and they just got traded. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about they was drafted by a team and they just was not good. So the team they was on was like, okay, this is just not working out. So we're gonna get rid of you because this is just not working here. And they go on to be successful. I say all that to say about DeAndre Ayton. He was the number 1 pick. Phoenix begged him to be that guy. Lily was begging him to be that guy, and it didn't work out. He got traded to Portland, and they couldn't wait to get him out the building. Right? They didn't even want to trade for him. They said, we just want to get you out the building. Right? Now he's picked up by the Lakers. And my whole thing is the team is built around Luka, Ayton, and Reeves. We can't expect the 55-year-old man to come save us anymore. He can't be the guy to come save us anymore. That guy, he's too old. He can't be that guy. These young guys got to be the ones to save this Lakers team. So Luka, Aiden, and Reeves. Now let's just look at those three. Luka, top 5 player, arguably top 3 player. Doesn't play defense, but he carried the Mavericks team to the NBA Finals not playing defense. And now this is supposed to be his revenge tour. He may go on a streak to get MVP. We'll see. Reeves doesn't play defense and is a very ball dominant scorer. And Aiden, a guy that the last team that had him paid for him to get out the building, and the team that drafted him just went to the NBA Finals with him and still got him out the building. So for me, I say all that to say, I just don't know what the makeup of the Lakers are right now. I don't know who the Lakers are. I don't know their identity. And like you said, even when LeBron comes back, are we expecting this 55-year-old man to come be our savior once again? So it's like, I don't know where we going. Granted, they did finish last season in what, top 5 in the West or something like that? Top 6 in the West? I can't remember.
They were the number 3 seed in the West, but once they got to the playoffs, that didn't even matter.
Yes, so the top 3 in the West. So they prove they can win regular season games. They got more talent. They got more players. JJ seems like a good coach, but it's just like I'm not showing their identity. And I feel like the 3 guys that they're banking on to be the guys for them are just not good enough to be those guys. Not counting Luka. I'm just talking about Reeves and Aiden. Luka can be that guy. But Reeves and Aiden, I just don't know. So I'm not against what you're saying as far as let's make a package deal to trade Reeves and Rui to bring some help in. And it doesn't even have to be superstar help. It doesn't even have to be star help. It could be an all-star level player or just a starter rotation player that fits around Luka. Because Luka proved that he can get it done if he got the accurate pieces around him. He took that Mavs team. He didn't have another superstar with him. He didn't have another all-star player with him, all-star level player, like a consistent all-star level player with him. But he got them to the NBA Finals. So I feel like no, he had Kory. I'm sorry. He did have Kory, but Kory was in and out. That was his Kory first year. I take that back. Kory was there. But I'm just saying he didn't have like a superstar level player with him. So he got Luka, he got LeBron when he come back. And I feel like LeBron to be enough help. But I just want them, and I say this and I'm done. I just feel like for UX and for Laker Nation, I don't feel like the Lakers' new management or new ownership is coming into the season with the expectation of them winning the championship. I feel like they coming into the season with let's see what we got, and we're gonna make moves from there. And them moves may be, hey LeBron, it may be time for you to go ahead and retire, or we can send you to Cleveland. This your last year on the contract. We're not gonna re-sign you. We're gonna let you go ahead in Cleveland. Hey Aiden, we're gonna see if it worked for you this one season, but if it don't, we're gonna go ahead and move on from you. I think they're trying to clear their books and see what they got and build around Luka and go from there. But I don't feel like they coming into the season with the expectations of we should win the championship. And not saying that's just your expectation, but according to Laker Nation, that's the expectation of every season.
Okay, yes, that is the expectation of every season based off of what history tells us. But me being very realistic and taking my fandom out of it, no, I did not expect this team to compete for a championship this year. And I don't believe ownership did either. I think Mark Walter is going to take the approach with this that he took when he and Magic Johnson first got to the Dodgers. You know, they built up a strong team. I mean, KB, we know it all too well. They ended the Braves in 2013, and that pretty much started a rebuilding period until we saw them back in the playoffs in 2018 again. But they're going to take the slow approach here, and yes, they're going to build this thing around Luka. Here's the scary part about me when it comes to Ayton. Golden State is not even known for having bigs like that who are supposed to be able to give you trouble. And that was disastrous to watch that last night, KB.
And what I saw last night made me think of when Indiana signed him to that offer sheet a couple years ago. If I could rewind history, I know, this is just hindsight looking at it. Phoenix should have gave him everything to get him out of the door when they could have. He kind of reminds me of Miles Turner. Bigs that want to play so far away from the hoop that they want to be stretch bigs, but they don't want to bang in the paint. They don't want to grab rebounds. Aiden, you see the talent. That's the like most disappointing part about the whole thing. You see the talent. I just think that he has like one of the lowest motors in the NBA. I think that he's kind of like sometimes he's engaged, sometimes he's not. He's real finicky for me, and it's kind of hard to really, see what type of player you have because he doesn't want to, have the same motor. If we're in the 82 game season, he's checked out for half of that, more than half of that. So, and with the Lakers not even really, I don't really see them in a championship contender window this season. Just because their current roster makeup, I don't see them competing with the best in the West. Like forget even like the entire NBA, just the West in general. The Rockets, the Mavericks, the Thunder, the even the Warriors. Like I don't see them better than any of them. And I said in the summer, I didn't really like the moves that were made. I know that they didn't really have much flexibility to make certain moves, but I didn't like the moves that were made. I'm not as high on Ayton as some people probably are, but that's just based off of what I saw in Portland and what I saw in Phoenix, towards the end of his tenure in Phoenix. It's I don't want to say lazy, but it kind of gives off lazy when you see some of the way how he approaches the game. Like I don't necessarily, Matt, you talked about you want your quarterbacks to be a certain way. I want my centers to play a certain way. I'm from we all grew up in those eras watching traditional centers like Shaq bang in the paint. We saw Dwight Howard bang in the paint. Yeah, we know this is positionless basketball. We know that you have to be able to stretch the floor nowadays, but the fact that you don't want to even be a big man is baffling to me. You want to play so out of what you're supposed to be doing that you're kind of like you're a tweener almost. You're not even a traditional big anymore. You're more of a four. If we want to be completely honest, you don't want to roll on the pick and rolls. You want to pick and pop most of the time, which is cool, but that's what the Lakers need. If we're banking on Ayton and Jackson Hayes to be their two bigs, they're in trouble. There's no way they can go up against somebody like Jokic. There's not even a way they can go against like Yama. Like there's nothing that they can do with some of these skilled bigs in the league because they are weak in that area. So as much as you say you don't want LeBron to have to be the one to come and save you, it looks like he's going to have to do it again. And at this advanced age, that's a lot to ask of him. And it's kind of a lot to ask of Luka because of the workload that he's already carrying. So I don't see anything good coming out of this season. I do think they're still talented enough to make the playoffs, but if they make the playoffs, I'm looking at 7th or 8th seed, maybe even 6th, but I'm looking at 7th or 8th seed, and that's just how I feel about it.
Look, you brought up Wemby. The thought of DeAndre Ayton going up against Wemby makes me just want to turn the TV off. Going up against Jokic, no, I don't want to see that. You say you say they are talented enough to be a playoff team. I don't know. I mean, honestly, because I don't expect Golden State to be a championship contender in the mix. I don't expect teams like the Clippers to be a championship contender in the mix. But those are well-rounded rosters for the most part. They're not up there with the Thunder and Houston and Denver with what they have, but those are still well-rounded rosters, and they're going to give people problems, and I expect them to be competing in the back half of that. And look, I hear you with the whole LeBron thing. No, I'm not asking the 41-year-old man to come save us. I'm not doing it. Matt knows I've kind of been off that bandwagon for a little bit. Now, when he has those great nights, yeah, I'm all in. I'm all for it. But I'm very conflicted when he doesn't have great nights at times. I'm conflicted in the sense of, well, are we asking too much of him, or is he even out there trying? But at his advanced stage and where he is in the game, no, I'm not asking him to come save us at this point. If anything, I'm asking the front office to step up and do their job and get the right pieces in there. Matt said it earlier. Doesn't have to be another superstar. There's got to be the right type of players with Luka. And what we know about Luka, you get him some good stretch bigs and some great 3-and-D players around him, and he can do great things with that. They don't have that right now. But I want to ask you guys this. With what you saw from Golden State, Do you think that that's a sign of things to come from the Warriors this season?
Oh, they look impressive. The Lakers look. I mean, the Golden State Warriors look impressive. I didn't have much expectations for them coming into the season. I mean, KB said at the beginning, the West is just stacked. You know, it's like from top to bottom. Even and actually, you said it too. Like it may be some good team. I don't know. I mean, I know y'all watch ball just as much as me, NBA basketball. It's like it's gonna be that year like when Phoenix Suns won 40 games and missed the playoffs, or 45 games or something like that and missed the playoff. I think they named them won 50 games and missed the playoffs. It was that year a while back, like in the year when Kobe and Paul Gasol and all them was playing.
It was
So it's just
48
like
games in 2014. I will never forget that season.
yes, and missed the playoffs, mind you. So it's the West stack like that. And can we go back? We said I was literally gonna say it. Like I like my bigs to be bigs. Like those are two positions. I just want them to be traditional. I don't need a positionless player. I mean, it's good to have a versatile big. Like it's good to have a big that can shoot. It's good to have a big that can pass. It's good to have a big that can even dribble a little bit. But the foundation of my big, I need you to rebound and block shots. If you 7 feet tall, I need you to average 10 rebounds a game off the rip. Like off the that's anytime a player that's a big doesn't average 10 or more rebounds, I always look at them sideways. That's a starter, and that's playing starter minute. I always like, come on, man. Like, come on. So I'm with you 100% there, KB. Like my big and my point guard, I need those positions to be and I say it all the time, and I'm gonna talk about the Golden State. I say it all the time, and X kind of it was one person that X brought up when I said this. You probably can mention it now, X. When I said no point guard, no undersized point guard ever led his team to a championship outside of Steph and Isaiah. And you mentioned somebody else. I think it was somebody for the Celtics, but I can't remember. Maybe. But it was like I was pretty much saying like no undersized point guard has ever led their team to a championship and won it outside of Steph and Isaiah Thomas as the best player. That's why I'm not a big play. I'm not a big believer in my best player on my team being my point guard because of that. But we have exceptions. The greatest shooter of all time is still playing. And he won with 4 championships. And the Golden State Warriors look good. He looking peak form. He looked like he ain't lost a step. Jimmy Butler even looked like he found the fountain of youth. I like him. Draymond gonna be Draymond. Draymond was in mid-season form yesterday. We're getting the tech already. That's the Draymond we know and love. Tech already, first game. I like them. I like what they can do. They obviously beat us last in the playoffs. That's the lowest seed. So I'm a little, I'm a little, I'm a little hurt. I'm a little, sad. I ain't go front. But I like them as a whole. And I never count out Curry. Curry is like, how can I put it? He's like the Tim Duncan of our era, of this era, not our era, because Tim Duncan was in our era. But he's like a Tim Duncan of this era. Like you can never really count him out. You can never really count that organization out. As long as they got Curry, as long as they have Tim, you can never really count them out.
I'm not going to count them out, but some of these teams, man, Dallas, the size that they have. Hopefully, when Kyrie comes back, he's healthy and he's even close to Kyrie form. You know what that team's going to look like. San Antonio is my sleeper in the West. With everything that they have, a healthy season from Wemby, they're my sleeper in the West that could go as far as the Western Conference Finals. Now, I'm not saying they will.
Let me ask you this: if the San Antonio Spurs do not make the playoffs, what would they say about Wemby?
And he's healthy.
He's healthy. He played at least 70 games.
And he's not the guy that we think he is. That's what it says to me.
Okay. We'll see.
See, your sleeper team is San Antonio. Mine's is Denver. I think that, and not sleeper in the traditional sense, like they still have an MVP over there, but sleeper as far as like the moves that they made in the offseason, which weren't as big as some other teams, but I think they're retooled. They moved Michael Porter to Brooklyn, and I think that they're ready to kind of like quietly sneak into that top 4 seed picture. I think Jokic is going to have another great year, to be honest with you. I think that he's going to continue to be what he has always been. Now, the key for that team, for me is going to be Jamal Murray. How he continues to develop. If Jamal Murray is a 20-point per game scorer, I could see them easily winning at least 60 games. And honestly, that just like because I know everything looks good on paper, but the Mavericks still are coming back from injury. They still have to get Kyrie back. We still have to see what Cooper Flag is going to develop into. Houston, we got to see if they can make all those pieces, fit. With the Spurs, we have to see, how well Dylan Harper is going to develop. Stephon Castle is going to have a sophomore slump. We got to see all of these things. I know exactly what Denver is. I just have to see if they're going to be able to compete with some of these top teams. So really, all it's going to be is can you stay afloat long enough to like weather those storms in the middle of the season where guys are playing on a random Tuesday night and they might not be as motivated playing against maybe guys like teams like the Charlotte Hornets on a random Tuesday in the middle of January. Like those are the games that are going to be important because seeding is really going to matter. I think that Golden State has a chance, not necessarily to win the championship, but they can make a little run depending on who they match up with and where they are in the standings. They can make a little run just because of the fact that they play so much positionless basketball. Now they do have the oldest starting lineup in the league. That's very important. So we got to see if their availability is going to be the biggest question with them, not the talent, the availability. If they can stay healthy, I mean, I would put them up against some of these guys, but I just think that's too stacked. Like you have legit maybe 6, 7 teams that have a argument that they could be the best team in the West. But then, like I said, I'm still on the scope of we gotta wait to see till we're probably I'll say about a third into the season to see what some of these teams really look like. But for me, Denver's gonna be my sleeper.
Kory, do you think that Golden State team could have beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoff last year if Curry was healthy for the whole series? I mean, they lost in 5, so it was kind of like a gentleman's sweep. But Curry went down like in game 1 or 2, if I remember correctly.
I think that they could have pushed it to at least 7. The reason why I say that is because no matter if Steph's scoring, it's the amount of looks that he creates for so many other people. I think that the thing was the biggest part of that series was Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, especially in an elimination game, he didn't shoot the ball. He was passive in the game where you had to have it. Like it had to be you. So with Jimmy Butler, like I think that he's more, especially now that you have him for a full season, he's more of an X factor than Curry because we know what Curry is. We know what he's gonna be. We know he's gonna hit 200 plus threes. We know this. Now we just need to see if Jimmy Butler can be. Because really, I think at 37 years old, Steph needs to be they need to have Steph be more of a 1A, 1B type of player. He doesn't have to carry so much. He already does so much for that offense. He needs a good co-star. That's going to be for me the biggest thing for Golden State's progression, not him like on an individual level.
Those young guys have to step up too. Kuminga gonna have to step up and be a bigger factor. Pog gonna have to step. He's playing better, and that's who. It's funny that Draymond said he feel like he gonna be the replacement for Curry once Curry retire because the replacement that the organization wanted for Curry, you ran him out of town because you punched him in the face. But now Carrot Top is gonna be the replacement for Curry because Jordan Poole down there in New Orleans because you ran him out of town. Because that was their replacement for Curry, and he was supposed to be there to play with Curry, but you ran him out of town. But now you found the replacement for Curry, who is Paz. And I'm not against him; he's a good player, but I think Jordan Poole is a better player. And then just to kind of talk about them as a whole, going into, I mean, if we base the last season of this season, I think the Clippers and Memphis both fall out the playoff. We talk about how deep the West is, but I just think the Memphis Grizzlies and the Clippers both fall out the playoffs from last season. And I think the teams that kind of get in there is my sleeper team is the New Orleans Pelicans, and then I feel like the Spurs to get in to kind of wrap that up.
The Pelicans. Now that's an interesting one. All right. Well, thankfully that was just game 1 of 82. The next game ones are happening on Wednesday. A couple are happening on Thursday. It's just exciting to have the NBA back. But I want to get to the college football world here really quickly, and we're going to make this one quick. Billy Napier got the boot in Gainesville this past Sunday in Florida. He was fired after 3.5 seasons. He started on November 28th, 2021, and they let him go on Sunday. $21 million buyout, though. So obviously you don't want to see anybody without a job, but he got a $21 million buyout. 10 and 15 in SEC conference play, 22 and 23 overall at Florida. I wouldn't necessarily call it a complete failure. They did take some strides last season in 2024, but they took a lot of steps back this past season.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know Billy personally, but he did coach the University of Lafayette team. It's right down the street from me. It's like not literally right down the street, but it's like 2 hours from me. So I kept up with the team while he was out here in this area. So I was happy for him that he got an opportunity to go coach a bigger program. I know some people in this area was like he should have just stayed at UL. He should never left. Man, anybody would have took that opportunity. Like UL's a great school. He had success there. He won there a lot. But to have an opportunity to go coach the Florida Gators, you can't pass that up. And then at the end of the day, if you fail, you get a 20-something million buyout. So I don't feel bad for him for leaving. I'm glad that he left. I'm glad that he took the opportunity. It didn't work out. I remember the news broke last season that they was going to fire him, and they ended up keeping him for the rest of the season. And I thought they was going to fire him by the end of the season. And then going into this season, he played, and then it came out that he was about to be fired, but he was still there. And then he ended up staying it out. But we're going to see how they do. I mean, DJ Lagway is still a fantastic prospect as a quarterback. I wonder if he's going to stay at Florida or if he's going to enter the portal this offseason. That'd be interesting to see. But Florida just hasn't been the Florida of the one that we grew up with in a long time, and it's gonna take somebody that can go in there and shake things up. And you already know the name they're gonna throw out there is Dion. But with his health, he may be done coaching after this season. You never know. But they're gonna throw his name out there. Especially if they end up firing the coach at Florida State, but they say he may keep his job as well. So these are gonna be a lot of moving pieces this offseason. I wish Billy the best in his $20-some million buyout, and I hope he lands on his feet somewhere. And if you ever want to come back to Louisiana, I promise you, my alumni NSU, Northwestern State, we wouldn't mind you coming to coach over here with us.
So the name that's actually been thrown out more than anybody so far is Lane Kiffin. And it's being said that, hey, look, it'll take a lot to get Lane to leave Ole Miss, but Florida is one of the few destinations that he would entertain it for. KB, do you see it happening?
I don't see Lane leaving Ole Miss, especially with everything that's going on. I think that he kind of is building something there. Ole Miss, I think that Lane Kiffin's gonna. I find it. I don't find it highly unlikely. I just don't see it currently. Yeah, I'm not really sold on the whole Lane Kiffin to Florida move. Not right now.
I buy into it just by the fact that he was a big Steve Spurrier fan as he was coming up through the rankings as a coach. And I can tell you they're going to make a splash, whoever it is they go and get. But this time next year, it's going to be 3 coaches on the payroll for them, and 2 of them aren't even there anymore. But like Matt said, this is not the Florida that we grew up watching, obviously. Like Florida State is not the Florida State we grew up watching either. Miami is trying to work their way back, had a tough loss against Louisville last Friday, but I expect them to continue to be in the mix. So Billy Gonzalez, the team's wide receivers coach and an assistant, he will be the interim as they go forward. Florida's next game will be next Saturday in the Florida-Georgia game in Jacksonville, and what has honestly just become a case of, hey, UGA, just don't go out there and embarrass the state of Georgia. It's not the rivalry game that it used to be anymore. So we'll see what happens with the Gators. Let's get to some quick hitters here really quickly. Speaking of UGA, KB, I was very happy with what I saw in the fourth quarter because throughout the first 3 quarters, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? But they tightened it up and they got it right in the fourth quarter. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Shout out to Mike Bobo and whatever it was he was dialing up in that booth because it worked. The offense woke up in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, they did. And they needed to. I kind of saw as the game was trending, it was going to be about who could outscore, who was going to be able to find some rhythm and consistency on offense because Georgia actually went against the team that could put up points. So they had to kind of generate some offense and generate some offense fast because you started to see a little bit of worry on a lot of people's face in Sanford because it was almost pressing time. Ole Miss was coming out and they were driving the ball down with ease in that first half, especially. I think that Georgia still has a couple of things they still got to tighten up on, and I'm talking about overall. You still have teams like you still look at the remainder of their schedule. Still had to play Texas. Still had to play at the end of the year Georgia Tech, who's undefeated by the way, ranked number 7 in the country. So these are things that you want to kind of correct because your schedule still has a couple of games hidden in there, some tough opponents. Shout out Mike Bobo. I give him credit because this is probably one of the best games as far as how Georgia's offense has looked all year. So I will give him credit on that, but I still need to see some level of consistency. I don't want to have you up for this game and then we play someone, not quite on par with Ole Miss and then drop your level completely. We got to see more.
Florida's next, KB. That's all I'm going to say. Don't go out there and embarrass the state once again. USF, they kept it rolling on Saturday. They've already clinched a bowl berth here, but that's, of course, not the only thing that they're going for here. I brought this up, though, because I want to talk about Alex Golesh. Guys, I was at the game on Saturday covering that at Raymond James Stadium. I don't know which P4 school he's going to be at next year, but he's going to be at one. Matt, what's your early thoughts on him?
So I'm gonna be honest, X. When you mentioned him to me, I had to go look more into him because you was like, and I just want to. Before I go on about this, I just want to do one. I got to do one service. Shout out to Xavier McKnight for his coverage in the area of Florida, in southern Florida. Southern Georgia, northern Florida. I just want to shout you out, brother, because you've been doing a fantastic job. I've been keeping up with you, and I just like everything that you're doing. I know we used to always give our girl Meg her props for her coverage in southern Louisiana, northern central Louisiana. And now he's kind of like we got both of you kind of doing your thing in that sporting world. So y'all been doing a great job. And X, X can verify this. I'll be going to him for not saying he's giving me like secrets, but like anytime I need something about the Bucks, I go to X. Quick, I'll be like, man, let me know if what's name is playing because I need him for my fantasy team today. Is Baker like what's going on? Like, so shout out to you, man. Keep up the great work and keep getting up the inside knowledge. And you're doing a great job for real, for real. But yeah, I think I agree with you. By next season, he's gone, and I just hope he has a good landing spot. Because I feel like he's a great talent at the coaching realm, and I feel like once he get to a bigger spot, he'll have more spotlights on him. Because I knew who he was, but it wasn't like I knew he was like that. And when you mentioned it, I was just like, dang! I said X wouldn't say that just to say that. I said, let me look into this guy, and I looked into him. I was just like, oh, hold on now. I know we just got Brian Kelly, but can our alumni come together and get this buyout going? Because it's like we need to spark ourselves, but I ain't gonna say nothing about BK. I'm gonna leave that be. I don't need no LSU fans blowing my DMs up and coming for me. I'm gonna leave that be. But yeah, I would agree with you, X. Like I knew of him and I watched him here and there, but when you mentioned him, they made me want to do like a small deep dive into him, especially when I knew I was coming on the pod. And like I said, I'm impressed, and I think he's definitely gonna be at one of those top end schools by next season. I look forward to the work that he will do once he move on.
Well, first off, before we move on, appreciate all the kudos and shout outs you gave right there. I'll speak a little bit more in part two about how my week began with some of this Bucks coverage on Monday because I got a message behind that. But I want to talk about some NFL headlines really quickly before we jump out of these quick hitters. Not even on the field, Sean Payton versus Russell Wilson. That thing is still going on. We heard what Sean Payton had to say initially at the podium after the game, how he was hoping that the Giants would have not played Jackson Dart before they played the Broncos. People took that as a shot at Russell Wilson. I believe it was a shot at Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson finally said enough, and he called out Sean Payton and Bountygate and all of that stuff yesterday. And today, Sean Payton came to the podium and he said that he wasn't talking about Russ. I don't believe that for 1 second, but I just want to say shout out to Russell Wilson. Enough of being a punching bag, bro. It's time for you to start punching back, because from everything that I know about Russell Wilson from the outside looking in, that is a good dude. He might not be the quarterback that he used to be anymore, but that appears to be a good dude. He's always giving his time to children with terminal illnesses. He's always lifting up the Most High. He's always doing his best to present himself as a role model and be the best representation of what a family man is supposed to be. And you have people who will take that and they'll start talking about his gameplay, and then somehow it turns into other personal stuff like, oh, he operates like a politician and he's this and he's that. No, shout out to him. And the next person that takes a shot at him, I'm not going to name any names. I hope he comes back at them too. KB, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that he needed to stand up for himself. And I think that, Sean Payton was trying to, he was trying to throw shade at him. I think that basically Sean Payton's still salty about some of the things that, transpired as far as when Russell was in Denver. I think that, everybody needs to move on. Russell's in a brand new situation. You have the quarterback that, of the future for your franchise. And I think that everybody needs to move on. I don't really see what the point of doing the, trash on Russell Wilson or even trying to throw subliminal messages his way. I don't really see what it would do for Sean Payton. And honestly, this kind of just, I mean, like, Sean Payton, great coach, but it's kind of just speaks to the person. Like, I've, seen a couple of things from Sean Payton over the time I've been watching football, especially being a Falcons fan. And he could be a great coach, but some of the stuff I'm seeing, like, just character-wise, I'm not a fan of it. I don't think that, like I said, you can not like Russell Wilson, the football player. Cool, fine. That's your prerogative. But there's nothing that he does that will warrant him being personally attacked. You can attack his game. You can attack the way he plays on the field. But as far as the man, I think they people have used his, kindness as a weakness. And I think that he needed to stand up for himself instead of having other people say stuff on his behalf, because he has been kind of used as the NFL's punching bag. A nice guy. Some people view him as corny, but, a nice guy regardless. So I think that this is one of those things that needed to happen. And I feel like he should stand up for himself more often, because people, coaches, his own ex-teammates, they've been talking greasy about him in the media for a while now. So I'm happy for him for standing up for himself.
Matt, your thoughts?
I agree 100% with both of you all. I don't even have much to say. Russ, Sean was being a bully, and he been a bully towards Russ since he was in Denver. The man didn't play for your team in 3 years. You ain't been his coach for 3 years, and you still trying to throw shade at him when he had another organization. Then to come out and not even stand on what you were saying. Who else you was talking about? Jameis Winston? Like, who else were you talking about then that you wish Dart was playing before you wish they wouldn't have played Dart by the time you thought James was gonna be the starter by then? No shot at James, but like, who else were you talking about, Sean? So it's just like he been a bully towards Russ, and he been one towards him, and it's been unfortunate. And I'm glad, like KB said, he finally stood up for himself and said something. And then across the media, you got former players and coaches that play with Russ that got stuff to say about him, and whatever. And like you said, X, they all discount because they say he a politician. He don't come off as authentic, whatever. Even if that's the case, ain't none of y'all come out and say he was a bad guy. So, like, okay, he may not give you his true self. Okay, he may come off as a politician. Okay, he may be kissing babies and shaking hands. Okay, whatever. But he never did nothing directly towards you that made him a bad guy. So there's no reason for you to constantly attack the man even 3 years later after he doesn't play for you. So move on, Sean. I'm glad Russ stood up for himself. Sean been trying to bully him for years, and Russ got tired of it, and he probably will start coming at people in the media like X said that's still kind of trying to bully him, like former players that won Super Bowls with him or Super Bowl with him and been to Super Bowls with him.
Yeah, we don't have to name any names on that. I'm pretty sure we all know who we're referring to when we say that. Let's get to some more quick hitters here really quickly. Going to run through these. The Patriots, they kept it rolling against the Tennessee Titans. Great win for Mike Vrabel and company, him going back to Tennessee for the first time since being let go as their head coach. That was a stupid move. I don't know why the Titans did that. Jalen Hurts absolutely cooked in Minnesota. The offense got rolling. A.J. Brown, for some reason, still wants to go on social media and still make these subliminal shady posts that make no sense. Mike Evans, unfortunately, breaking his collarbone on Monday Night Football. That was an ugly injury. Had a concussion also that happened there. I could tell he was already asleep when his helmet hit the ground. Wishing Mike all the best, get well soon. Unfortunately, that 1,000-yard season streak that he had going is more than likely officially over. But more important than anything, Mike, get healthy, come back soon. The game needs you. You're one of the best stewardsmen in the history of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization. Has been there through some dark times, and now as they become this perennial divisional power in the NFC South, has been there for that as well. And to no surprise of anybody, Justin Fields officially benched by the New York Jets. That was a disastrous performance on Sunday, followed up by another disastrous performance that he had overseas last week. Anybody have any thoughts?
No, yeah, everything you said is right on point. So I agree. Shout out to Mike though. Hope he get well soon. And unfortunately, like the 1,000 season may be over, but he's been a Hall of Fame player. He had a Hall of Fame career. Hopefully, he can at least be around towards the end of the season when the Bucks make a playoff run or make a Super Bowl run.
KB, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, same. Like it's well wishes to Mike Evans. As a Falcons fan, I've grown to see him, come in as a rookie and, develop into one of the greatest receivers that we've probably seen in this game, period. I think that, touching on the Justin Fields situation, I think it was only a matter of time. And honestly, I don't just put all the blame on Justin Fields. I think that the Jets are just a hot mess right now. I think that this is just who they are. I don't see it getting any better, and I do see Aaron Glenn as one of those coaches that has the potential to go one and done. I do, honestly. Even as much as we could look at him as a great coach, I look at this as one of those seasons. It's similar to the Gerard Mayo situation in New England. I can look at this as he may have just been a filler coach, just until they get the coach that they're actually needing to lead them to prosperity. But the Jets are definitely going to be in looking in that draft for a franchise quarterback, no question. They have to. There's nothing else that you can address first before you address that quarterback position. So that's more of what I think is a bigger story.
All right, look, baseball fans, we know you think that we forgot about you, but we didn't. We're going to touch on the World Series. That's coming up in part 2. This will do it for part 1 of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. It's XKB. Our guest, Matt, will be right back.